All right, as promised, let's now welcome crime expert Mr. Willem Els to further unpack the latest released crime statistics. Willem, thank you so much for your time today, as always. So the latest crime stats are in, and I remember when we were shocked at the previous presentation, as we noted that some of these crimes that had reportedly decreased were in fact crimes that were a lot of underreporting or no reporting of such crimes actually takes place, Willem. And I think you heard the commissioners also made reference to it. What significant difference did you then pick up from the latest stats, except that crime persists, but at least murder has decreased? A very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you. Yes, indeed. You know, it is when we work with statistics, and we mentioned percentages. You know, it tends to soften the situation. But at the end of the day, you know, 2% to 3%, even 8% of a very high number of cases, it still remains high. So that leaves us still amongst the highest in the world when it comes to the murder rate. Indeed, we have to give praise where it's due. And we must commend the police on the statistics that went down. But of course, we needed to go further down and further down. And then you mentioned something about the underreporting. Of course, murder, you know, that is being reported pretty sort of close to the numbers. But your underreporting of crimes, especially with intimidation, especially with the mafia style type of intimidation and syndicates that are operating, that actually tends to underreporting, but also your GBV crimes also tends to be underreported because of the stigma, because of intimidation, because of family pressure, etc., etc. So there's a lot of factors that work in there. So yes, the statistics are there. We have to work with what we have, but yes, there is some underreporting.
Absolutely. But in all honesty, Willem, looking at the current reports of various serious crimes like gun-related violence, which was again flagged, as we saw in the incident, making headlines yesterday involving the former Zimbabwean president's son, where somehow a gun goes missing on the scene, yet the victim is riddled with bullets. And the common trend is you see certain individuals that are almost at every crime scene before police even get there. I mean, what were the diplomatic police even doing on site, as these aren't diplomats, according to understanding? We don't even know if the accused has a license for a firearm in a foreign country. How does this work in terms of South Africa then as well?
Yeah, indeed. That's a red flag that we see there. As you mentioned, you know, he doesn't have any diplomatic immunity. He's just a citizen or a inhabitant of the suburb. He's got a Zimbabwean credentials and everything, but he's got nothing to do with their diplomatic mission here, etc., etc. So why would the diplomatic police be there? That I think the police itself should ask questions there. But having said that, yes, we've got a body with a bullet-ridden body, as you mentioned. But remember, that's not the end of the road. Obviously, if you can't find the murder weapon, it weakens your case, but the case is not lost. With all the other evidence, if they gather it meticulously and they don't find the firearm, they can still go ahead with a case and with investigation. But if they do a very good investigation, they should find the firearm.
And he is a reoffender, if we need to mention that there, Willem. Look, I keep making reference to our country's intelligence, even if it exists or even if it does its job. The scourge in international criminalities, as well as criminals being found residing opulently here in South Africa, Willem, to individuals that are here working with international criminal cartels right in our backyards, where the whole suburbs, we are being told, are being brought by unknown foreign nationals. What is the risk of this, Willem? President Cyril Ramaphosa, during his SONA last week, Thursday, said efforts are being made to fight criminal cartels by consolidating intelligence at national level. How, though, when specialized task teams are being disbanded by his own comrades?
Indeed, yeah, that's a sticky question. We start with the intelligence, of course. You know, our intelligence gathering, crime intelligence, as well as our national intelligence, is severely under pressure. You know, they're busy revamping it. They're busy updating and upgrading the HELAP Act. There's a lot of roadblocks that they found there, and at the end of the day, they will have to clean out before they rebuild. And that will happen with crime intelligence as well. If we listen to what's happening at the commission as well as the ad hoc committee. So without credible intelligence, it's very difficult to preempt and to proactively combat crime. So what's happening now, that leads South Africa to with a reactive approach, and they play catching up as far as they go. So that's being said, international crime syndicates coming in. They come into South Africa to make money, to make an obscene amount of easy money. And they also bring money with them. So what they didn't do is, like you mentioned, in these suburbs, they go in, they buy the suburbs. Those who don't want to work will be intimidated. They will be worked out, murdered, or just chased away. And the rest will work with them until it's not comfortable for them anymore. And then they want to stand up, and then the police must come and help them. Remember, those syndicates cannot come and operate in our neighborhoods if we don't allow them.
Look, Willem, as we conclude our conversation, we're told that the army would be deployed in a few days to those crime-ridden identified hotspots last week. This hasn't happened, clearly. In fact, fears are that the army doesn't even have the resources for this task. Is this a way, an admission that policing has completely failed in those areas, and it's only a matter of time before the whole country's police system fails entirely?
Yeah, I think we should see that as a sign of desperation. The police has completely failed us. There are pockets of resistance and excellence within the police that are still there, and that is why we still have a sort of a functioning country. That being said, it seems to me that whenever there's a problem and the police cannot fulfill their mandate, the public and everybody else want to run to the military as a magic wand to come and solve all their problems. But the fact of the matter is that the military is in a worse state than the police. So now they have to come and do the police's work, what they're not being trained for, they're not being funded for, and they're not being equipped for. So if you look at the previous deployment in 2019, at the very same place where they're deploying them now, the reports afterwards were scratching. They said that it didn't work. The murder rate went slightly down in that areas, and then it just stabilized at the same levels. So it did not work in the past. So if they do not change their strategy and come up with something new, deploying them, I think we're going to have this discussion in a few months' time, and we'll say the same thing.
Not looking forward to that. Willem Els, thank you so much for that. That is Mr. Willem Els, who's a crime expert there, weighing in on the latest crime stats that were released just a short while ago.